Now I've done a few series already on WWF games that released across different platforms, and I want to keep that going because I've been in the mood to play some wrestling games recently that I haven't played in years. I feel as if I've completely messed up the timeline though by starting with the PS1 games, then going for the original Game Boy, then the Game Boy Color. I'd honestly get really annoyed with myself if I kept going in such an awkward order, knowing that I've completely missed out a massive chunk in the WWF timeline when it comes to its games. Plus, after doing some research, there's a whole heap of WWF games I haven't played before and also didn't even know existed, so it's a great excuse for me to experience them for myself while also documenting them for the sake of the channel. So strap in your seatbelts because we're going old school today. Here's WWF games on the Amiga. First off, I'd like to make it clear I'm not all that familiar with the Amiga. It was a bit before my time. In fact, releasing 8 years before I was even born. With that being said, it doesn't mean I haven't given the Amiga a bash before. I've played a couple of games on it at a friend's house, but his place was like a game museum where pretty much all consoles and computers were hooked up and ready to play, so this is, technically, the first time I'm going head first all by myself with the Amiga. It was a bit of a ball ache to get the emulator I'm using up and running, and from what I do know about the Amiga, this emulator emulates the system pretty well, in the way you have to manually change floppy disks from the drop down menu, but it's all good. After reading a few forums and watching a few videos, I got up and running with no bother. Enough with all that crap though, let's get into the first game for the video, and believe it or not, it's the first ever official licensed WWF game, Micro League Wrestling. And here was me thinking that title went to WWF Wrestlemania, released for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Developed by Upfront Software and published by Micro League, Micro League Wrestling originally came out in 1987 for the Commodore 64 and Atari ST. It wouldn't be until 2 years later in 1989 it would be released for the Amiga. I started the game up and was greeted by a really aggressive message. I know the Amiga was famously known for its piracy when it comes to games, and I came to the conclusion myself that these guys obviously thought they were the shit at it. Once the game finally loads up, you get that classic WWF logo along with this really annoying song that just keeps repeating itself in a loop over and over again. Once I got into the main menu of the game, it was a bit of a guessing game for me with what to do next. I had no idea what each of these icons represented and couldn't find anything online, so I just went straight into a match and hoped for the best. But before I could continue, our old friend was back, this time asking me to look on page 8 and line 3 for the first word to continue into the match. I obviously don't have what it was asking me to read from, but I mean it could only be one word, right? It worked! But I was also gutted when I played it again later and chose a different word, and that worked too, so I guess you can just put anything in there. There are backstage promos from each wrestler before the match. I'm not going to lie, for today's standards it looks pretty shit, but back then I can imagine it was a big deal. They done a good job making sure they got all the correct catchphrases and slogans in, and I just couldn't help but read these out like the actual wrestlers would themselves. The loading times on the other hand really slow the pace down. You'll be finished reading the text on screen way before the next sentence is even loaded up. This also goes for the entrances too. Howard Finkel is here on screen introducing the wrestlers to the ring. For this one time I'll do my best Finkel impression so you can see for yourself how dire the loading times are here.
Introducing first, being led down the aisle by sensational Sherry. From Sarasota, Florida, weighing 238 pounds. Randy Macho Man Savage!
Brutal, eh? So after about 10 minutes I'm finally in a match, and this is not what I was expecting. It's more of a turn-based strategy game rather than the traditional type of wrestling game you'd expect of from today. There is a selection of moves to choose from for each wrestler, each move dealing a certain amount of damage. The moves in the top section deal a damage of 2, while the middle deals damage of 4, and landing your finisher will usually result in you pinning your opponent and winning the match. It sounds great on paper and is a really interesting concept, but there's no rhyme or reason with how you pull these moves off. Like 1 minute I'm delivering an axe handle to Hogan on the outside, Then we're back in the ring, he hits me with a shoulder block, and now I'm hitting him with a double chop? It just seems all over the place. I think maybe if they had more digitized photos to include, it would move the game along a bit more smoothly. There is a bar on screen which I gathered was some sort of momentum bar, because towards the end of the match I was landing move after move with no interruption. There isn't much ambience during the matches. There's sounds of a crowd, but it's literally a 1 second loop which when you notice it can begin to get really annoying. There are however sound effects for when you're pulling off moves, but they are pretty laughable. I really shouldn't be ripping this as much as I am though. I'm sure they've done their best with what they had at the time. There's only 2 matches you can play in this. Hogan vs Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan vs the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. I did read online that the original release for this game had expansion packs released for it, including wrestlers like Jake the Snake Roberts, the Honky Tonk Man, Rick Rude and others from that era. To be honest, I'm not that bothered about giving them a bash though. I think you can see all what this game has to offer after just one match. Certainly not a game I'll be rushing back to anytime soon, but glad to say I've given it a bash. Like I said, it's a great concept that I wouldn't actually mind seeing in this era again with the technology we have now. It would be a great option for people like myself that can't be bothered with the buggy mess the 2K games have become in recent years. Next up is WWF Wrestlemania, released in 1991, developed by Twilight and published by Ocean Software. Now this is more like it. Upbeat music and the visuals look fantastic. And we aren't even in a match yet. Woohoo! Look at those lights, they are getting lit AF. I cannot wait to play this one. Anyways, now onto the main menu. You have 2 options, compete for the belt and practice. Well, time waits for no one, so I just went straight into the career mode to go for the belt. Now you have 3 wrestlers to choose from. These include Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior and the British Bulldog. Damn Davey boy, what did they do to your face? Before each match you get a little cutscene of your opponent talking smack about you, and you can respond with multiple choice responses, which I thought was pretty cool. Everything was looking promising until the starting bell sounds. It's literally only one button that controls all your moves, so pray to God that your thumb has the muscles to keep going. Occasionally you will end up in a tie-up, and it's a test of who can get their grapple bar up first by rapidly changing the direction of the joystick from left to right. You can also pull off moves from the top turnbuckles. I found it pretty interesting that you can do this from the top of all 4 turnbuckles. You can also spam your way to victory by pulling off moves this way too. Just keep repeating this until your opponent's health bar has depleted and go for the pin. If you lose, don't worry, you have 2 credits which allow you to continue after being defeated. Here's something that's bullshit though. Your life bar won't be recharged going into a new match, but see if you lose and you've taken a considerable amount of your opponent's damage bar away, they will continue in a new match with full health like yourself. You will come across a pretty decent sized selection of opponents for the time across the game's career mode. These include the Mountie, Warlord, Mr. Perfect and a few others. Sadly I did not complete this game. By the time I got to the last opponent, Sergeant Slaughter, my thumb was in bits from all the button mashing and he was totally overpowered. When I first got to him he destroyed me, but I didn't have much health anyway, so I started fresh and decided to see if I can spam my way through it. I took him outside where you can use a chair as a weapon. I kept doing this while watching I never got counted out. Now that I pretty much drained his whole life bar, I got him back in the ring to take him to the ground by using an aerial attack from the turnbuckle. For some reason you can't pin an opponent in this position because you need to hold down and the action button simultaneously to do so. He ended up getting up, put me in the camel clutch, and then the timer ran out. Absolute bullshit that I lost this way, but hey, what can you do? All in, it's another one I won't be in a rush to play anytime soon. The gameplay is far too repetitive and the button mashing becomes really tedious really fast. Visually though, I thought it looked fantastic. It's really easy to tell what characters they are trying to portray on screen, and I liked how vibrant the colours were. Next up is WWF European Rampage Tour, released in 1992, developed by Arc Developments and published by Ocean Software, and let me tell you this, if the other 2 games look shite, they have nothing on European Rampage Tour. The fact it took me ages to figure out how to get this working in the beginning already pissed me off before I'd even started playing it. I had to emulate a different model of the Amiga to get this one up and running. Thought my computer had died at one point too, so once I finally got it going, I was a little excited to give this one a bash. I mean, the first game I played wasn't that great. The second was a step in the right direction with its graphics and presentation, but this one is a complete piss take. I will give it credit for its startup presentation. The Road Warriors look great, and like I've said before, you just cannot beat that old school WWF logo. But when I was greeted with only the option for tag team matches, I slowly realised I was going to have a shit experience with this. I've just never been too big on tag matches in wrestling games. I feel sometimes they can go on forever. After my playthrough, I did read online that the Commodore 64 version only featured single player matches. I guess due to the hardware limitations at the time, but this is just a shit show on the Amiga though. You choose from 4 wrestlers to make a tag team to take part in the European tour. These wrestlers include Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart. Once selected, you get a nice rendition of their entrance theme. Now on to the action. Before each match you have Now X play-by-play announcer Sean Mooney introducing matchups and which part of Europe you'll be wrestling in. Nice touch I've got to say, but trust me, it's all downhill from here. I'm just going to let the first match I took part in play out in real time for you to give you an idea of just how shite this game really is.
One, two, three.
I wasn't even on my back when I got pinned, and also I had hardly received any damage, and trust me, when I was being pinned I was shaking my joystick like fuck and rapidly pressing the fire button, so I can't even say it's a fault on my behalf, more so the fault of the poor gaming design. Luckily you have 2 continues so you can give it another bash. Second time I went in trying to land punches and kicks. Bret Hart was rolling about uncontrollably, and I found it almost impossible to line up straight with my opponent to even be able to land any hits. Most of the time we were just side by side punching and kicking at nothing. Now I know in real life when WWE, as it's now called, does tours around Europe and house shows etc, they are generally more dumbed down than what you'd usually see on Raw, SmackDown and pay-per-views. I've seen it with my own eyes a few times as a kid, but it was never this shite live. Imagine if this was real life and you'd actually paid to see this, you'd be raging. So yeah, I only seen this match 3 times, with my third attempt pretty much ending the same as my first attempt did. Absolute shite, and I'll definitely not be returning to this anytime soon. So that pretty much wraps up the video. There was only 3 games released for the Amiga, and although I wasn't really a fan of them, I'm happy to say I've at least played them. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And also, if you've played any of these games I've covered in today's video, I'd love to hear your experiences with them down in the comments. I always do my best to respond to every comment I get on my videos. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. See ya!